So this is
Oh,
apparently,
15.
this is apparently good to go now.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, just get out here. You'll take it.
You can make it.
No, I think I am.
Oh, that is neat.
It's important that you be there.
Here I am today.
Oh,
Why's that?
yeah.
Well, that's with Kerry White, he's
Exactly.
talking about
Oh,
that coordination
yeah.
thing. He's got a PowerPoint.
So you know how I am, and this shouldn't make it to the paper, I hope. Then I said, the jury room, that sounds sort of, you know. I said, you think there's ever been any monkey business in the jury room? And,
Can I quote you on that?
I've known Carol for a long time, and she just said, you can leave now.
Well, why do you think the judges wear robes?
Well, they're hiding something.
Yeah.
Do I write this down in a minute?
Yeah, let's get
I'll
started.
write that in the minutes.
Your introduction, I'm Chuck.
Patty, Candace.
Scott Sylvester.
Sue Peterson.
Scott.
Chuck Gleiser. Bill A.
Elena Gagliano.
Heidi Hinkle.
Hi, Heidi.
Hi, Scott.
That's alliterative. Howdy, Heidi. Hinkle.
Heidi, you did good in the
3
minutes,
H's.
too. That was a lot of work you did.
We were wondering if we wanted this detailed or not. We were gonna
Yeah, I think we
discuss
should
it.
talk about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause I don't know, I'm more of a detailed person, type of person, and
Well,
maybe that's, I'm putting too much, I don't know.
Hey, I have a quick fire report.
Is it out?
Well, no, it's a report from yesterday, so, but, somebody called me. Oh, little Leo called me, you know, making his rounds as the state guy, and then he said, well, I see a helicopter and like some Forest Service equipment, and it looks like they're mobilizing. What's going on? So I just called them up out there, and they said there's a little fire on the east side of Medicine Lake, which, you know, that has all burnt fairly severely already.
You would think it would
I
burn
called
into
him,
it.
it started a couple days ago,
Yeah,
and, you know, we saw smoke, and so. I
it was
called
pretty big
for-
smoke, too.
You know, I called them up, and they said, and I told Hattie we were coming through, I said, that's gotta be right around Medicine.
Yeah.
I couldn't see any smoke today when I came in.
No,
It's clear
and
as can be.
they said, and I didn't criticize or make a comment, but then they said, and we've got equipment and a lot of personnel out there right now. And I just said, well, good going.
They had
Yes.
100 people come, and then they got, had 4 tankers on it, big tankers.
How
on
big
it.
is it?
It was up to 25 acres.
And they need
So
100
it's
people?
about
They got, because they can't get to it on that side, they're chainsawing to get in.
we call it 25, so it's about 10.
Huh?
So it's about 10 acres. They always do.
Anyway, sorry to get off the subject, but that was just what I heard about that little fire.
Oh, we're glad they're getting
Oh,
on.
I mean, I think it's great that they have 100 people. It's so
We got a new
it's kind of
president.
hard
He
to
said
get.
today on TV, did you see his deal? He's mad what's happening in California. He said, we're gonna do some logging down there. That's what he said. He can't stand waste, you know. He
Trump?
sees wealth, money.
Yeah.
Well,
I voted
he's
for him,
also
but-
going to divert all the water going to the Pacific over the
But
mountains,
he's doing a lot of
which I
things
think
that
is
I
a
think are
great
good for the
idea.
country.
You know, just get it over the
I'm glad
mountains.
I'm
I
not
didn't
married
hear
to
that.
it.
Yeah, that was his
That'd be
quite a famous.
I'm sure the money talks.
Anyway,
Yeah, money buys the girls.
approval of the minutes.
I move we approve the minutes.
Second.
Second.
All agree?
Aye. To Heidi's point, I think she's doing just a marvelous job, but since we decided that the electronic version was the official version, I don't think Heidi should have to go to all that work, you know, just if we pass a resolution and just, you know, hit the high points.
We were talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just great, but what a lot of work.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, that was the whole point of the electronically recorded
Well, I'll
meeting.
try. I tend to be a,
She's gonna get the detail.
Well, if it's not too much trouble to keep kind of summarizing things, I find it to be very helpful.
I enjoyed reading that myself,
But-
you know, to kind of refresh my memory.
But- It's unlikely I'm gonna go look at any video.
Oh, if you're interested really, that you want to know exactly what took
well, if there's
place.
something important.
You
Right,
would
if
want
there's
to,
something
yeah,
important,
that's right.
then it would be
Yeah, then
likely.
we might want to go
Yeah.
back to the video, so I
Okay.
think it's important.
Okay, we'll do that, and we're approving the minutes. Okay, discussion of commissioner's resolution.
Is this the resolution where they supported Danes?
No.
No, this is,
a resolution creating us.
creating us.
And
The,
one I didn't like because it didn't have anything about coordination.
Sure.
And
I don't have that.
Did you do that, weren't you gonna have it put in a resolution about coordination?
yeah, wasn't Blaine supposed,
Blaine, yeah,
Blaine is supposed to write something on
Yep.
it?
Blaine's not here this week.
He didn't get to it. I think it's a good idea to mention, I mean, well, here we are, and we didn't even get approved as a body by the commission yet. I mean, there is no resolution creating us yet, so it's the cart before the horse. I don't think it's a bad idea to mention that our idea is that our recommendations will help facilitate coordination,
Exactly.
and that we'll advise the commissioners on coordination.
And that's basically
matters.
what I had written up.
Yeah, that sounded good to me.
I'll go check with Claudette in case he left something for us.
What's that?
I'll go check with Claudette in case he left something.
Okay.
Say it again what you just said. That coordination,
Well, that part of I guess the commissioners will have a resolution creating us after the fact,
Right.
right? And I don't think it would be a bad idea for us to, before the fact, advise the commissioners to put something in there about how they expect our little group to advise them on how to get a decent amount of coordination between the commission and the Forest Service. We'll advise them on matters of Forest Service Commission coordination. And I think that'd be good to have in the resolution, and I think that's something that they want us to do. They may not even know it yet.
I would also like to see something about the collaborative process.
That,
Yeah,
it all goes together.
yeah, right.
I mean, yeah.
And the budget, and the
Budget.
budget should be
Well,
on it also.
The budget is next, actually, right?
Well, that has to be on the resolution also.
Sure. When they're in the process of creating us, then they should tell us if we have a budget, and if so, what is it?
Did you talk?
We just started, yep, we're gonna try to figure out how to set it up.
Okay.
Set what? The budget?
Budget, and where, what it'd be under and everything.
Did you talk about paying a note taker?
They're all in favor, but we gotta do it the right way, he said. Blaine was gonna have, I'm not pushing it on Blaine, but he was gonna have all this stuff.
When did you discuss it?
Huh?
When did you discuss it? Have the discussion about it?
Last week.
I didn't see anything on the agenda.
So I guess we're in limbo on all the stuff with Blaine until next time. Maybe next week, we could throw it in a little bit.
Yeah, you might mention to Blaine, we're waiting with bated breath.
Summers are tough. I mean, I think it's tough for all of us, even to be here because we're so busy.
He's on a Boy Scout trip with his kids and they're trying to find Eagle Scouts.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we skipped Blaine's coordination memo
For now.
for now, until next. I don't know if we can squeeze in next week or not. In our special meeting.
Yeah, I can't come because it's the fair at Deer Lodge.
If you have any questions, you can write them down and send them to me or something,
Okay.
and then I'll ask them, and they'll
Okay.
answer you.
Oh, thank you, that'd be great. And I will watch the presentation too, since I'm doing this, and I did hear him in February, I think, when he came, so.
Okay, discuss Ravalli County bylaws. we gotta get some bylaws going. So I suggest that we go with those bylaws with minor changes, but we have to have somebody type them up and, you know, take out the Valley County
Right.
Commissioner.
Could,
If there goes.
I really like these. I just wondered if everybody had a copy, if we could take 15 minutes and just, you know, go
Yeah.
through them together, and if anybody has any changes. Because it doesn't look like we have a lot to discuss today, it might be a good time to do it.
Yeah.
Do you want me to have Carol make copies?
That would be
that be
super.
appropriate?
Because I don't have a copy
I
of that.
forgot to remind me today.
I'll have copies for you two, you probably are aware of this, it's the
Valley County Collaborative.
Who's that? I can't
What's it
see.
look like?
Danielle.
Let me look at that.
She's
Someone
you
to
type
type
it.
Does it look pretty simple to type?
That is crossed out.
Danielle,
Oh.
Senator Williams,
Right.
she's one of those.
Mhm. Hello, Danielle.
I can't see with these lights.
I'm just here to listen. Do you have an extra copy of an agenda by chance?
An extra copy? The agenda?
If you don't, no.
Could we
just
get
wondering.
it? I could go run and get it too. Is there one close by?
And Claudette's making the copies for us.
Is that the date one?
Yes, it's the one from our last
This
meeting.
morning?
Yeah. Oh, this morning?
Yeah.
See, you'll.
Yes,
thanks for
yes,
being
that
sent
Martha
interview
said, yes.
with Lori Shaw
Oh,
from Colstrip, the blonde gal.
yeah.
Yeah, she really appreciated that.
Well, good. It was nice to see her.
She's
And,
a energetic gal.
yeah.
Is she Garland Shaw's daughter?
No.
Oh,
this
okay.
is
Same
Lori
name.
Shaw. I
Yeah.
thought, she's in real Montana with my son Kevin, but she's
Oh.
over at Colstrip. She's a big shot over there in Colstrip. She
The
plays-
Garland's daughter, or
No,
this
this
other
is
one?
a
This
different
other one.
Lori
Oh,
Shaw.
where's Garland's? 'Cause-
I don't know where Lori Shaw is. Do you know?
Okay.
Thinking she's over where.
Helena, maybe?
I mean, I didn't really know her.
I'm not
Okay,
sure.
I
She
just-
was blonde too.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
asked.
Yeah,
I kept thinking that's who it was.
Yeah,
I realized
right.
it wasn't.
Well, I hope it was productive
It
for
was.
her. And what had the potential of being a lot more productive than talking to me was I gave her my brother Ted's phone number.
That's
And I
what
don't
Kevin
know
said,
if she called him or not, but Ted is Ted is very, very, very knowledgeable.
Okay, I hope she gets a hold of him then. So,
Yeah.
she's a go-getter though. She just
Yeah.
is an amazing person. Kevin's going to India with her in November, with that Real Montana program.
Yeah.
So what's Real Montana?
It's every 2 years, the Montana State University chooses 20 outstanding individuals in Montana to represent the natural resource industry.
Oh, okay.
Ranching, logging, mining, and other entities.
Uh-huh.
And Kevin got chosen for the logging, and Lori Shaw, she's into mining. She really is a big shot over there in Colstrip.
Okay.
But it's a 2-year program, and they train them, and they've gone to Washington DC, and this will be their international trip.
Oh, my gosh.
So Kevin really loves it. He's just learning a lot. You know, they go out to mining, they've been to Colstrip, and they've been up to the Balkan region where they drill for oil, and they haven't gone to a logging site yet. I don't know where they're going to go for that, but a lot of nice young people there. Anyway, the Montana State University, this is their program through the extension
Oh,
office.
oh, wow, Real
So,
Montana.
yeah, so we're really tickled for Kevin.
Well, I think you'll find India, I have not been. My dad went to Nepal one time, and
Oh,
Did he go up Mount Everest?
they hiked in to the base camp of
Oh,
Mount
really?
Everest. He hiked like 200
Yeah.
miles, and
Wow.
then they hiked up to about 21,000 feet. That's
Pretty
which
high.
is way below the top.
Yeah,
But it was just supposed to be a hike,
yeah.
and it was.
I'm buying Kevin all these bug-off clothes, because, I mean, they've got so much disease over there. I mean, really deadly diseases. He'll be going to Bombay, which is Mumbai, but it used to be
Right.
Bombay, and New Delhi, I think. But they're going out to the farms, where it's really bad for malaria, because of the mosquitoes and all
Yeah.
that, so.
Yeah,
I'm worried about
not,
it, you know.
not been.
One of the gals that's going with them, she has a business over there, she goes all the time, so at least she knows what to do and what not to do.
One of my brothers went with a prof and a few other students when he was going to school down at the Communist University there in Missoula. And they went to Pakistan
Oh,
with this prof, and then they drove up to the Khyber Pass, and he said, we went into Afghanistan just enough to say we had been to Afghanistan, you know, and that was when the Russians were heavily involved there, so probably early 80s, you
yeah,
know.
a while ago.
And he said it's an interesting part of the world.
Yeah, it's sure different.
It was all part of it. Well, Pakistan and India were all India at one time,
Yeah.
and Bangladesh.
Mhm.
And then they had a civil war, and it turned out differently than our civil war.
Yeah,
We stayed together, and they did not.
no. You know, India, I was surprised they would go to India, but it is the fastest growing industrial and farming and country in the world. But still, they have so much poverty, they're still considered a third world. But they're just booming over there, technology, but there's extreme poverty.
Did he have to get a lot of immunizations?
Oh, he did. And this is what troubled me too, because he had to be opt-out, because he runs almost 107 with some of his childhood influenza
Oh,
stuff.
really?
Thank
So I
you.
struggled that out. but
Yeah, I
he
think
handled
so.
it
Thank you,
okay.
Scott.
There's here's a,
Let's see, who do you need an agenda?
Did you have
you
one?
want time?
Yeah, I would. Yes. Thank you.
Diana?
Hiya.
Did she get one of these
Thank you.
collaborative deals?
My old person glasses here.
So let's just go through this thing, and, so obviously we gotta change everything from Valley County to our county. And
Granite County Forestry Advisory Committee?
I wish we had a different name. Everyone says,
That's
what
a
where do
lot.
you belong? I think,
I
what
know.
is it?
Kickback.
Yeah.
the Beaverhead deal was.
What is that, VCC, oh, Board, County Commissioners, that's what it is, okay.
And so instead of Bitterroot, Chuck, you said Beaverhead. What else do we have? Do we have another forest besides Beaverhead in Granite County?
Is there?
Lolo is-
Lolo?
Okay.
Lolo's in Grant County.
Is
It's in
it?
the Rock Creek.
Rock Creek area.
Rock Creek drainage.
Beaverhead Deer Lodge, isn't it?
What's that?
Beaverhead Deer Lodge, Forest.
Yeah, and Lolo.
So who could we have type this
Sapphire.
up and change all the obvious changes, like a
Who
secretary?
does? the
I'm sorry,
Like our secretary?
to do what?
Type this up with the changes that make it
Change it,
applicable to us.
everything to Granite County from Valley County.
Well, if we're gonna make the changes now and then you can initial it, I guess,
Exactly. So yeah.
that we agree to get a motion to read it all. I don't,
I wonder if,
it's online, so it should be easy enough to
Right.
make the changes.
right, if it's a PDF, you could just make the changes.
Do you think it is a PDF?
I bet if it isn't, I bet they'd send it to us just to do it
Sure,
for us.
they must have it that way.
Yeah.
Or a Word document or
Right, so
something.
yeah, something word.
So that'd make it easy if it was just on somebody's word processor.
Right, and then just do a little changes.
This co-chair thing, I don't like that. What do you guys think?
Really, Chuck?
What page
I
is
mean, I don't
that?
care.
I'm te-
if you wanna-
I'm teasing, I'm fine with the chair and vice chair.
Which one are you looking at, the chair?
Page,
2? 3 on 2 or?
Oh, page 3.
co-chairs, oh, I see.
I mean, you can do it if you want. I mean,
No, I think,
I think we're fine the way we are.
it's,
So we'll just take that out.
right, that whole thing out. Maybe, something in about our officers, chair, vice chair, and secretary? Should we write something in that we will have a chairman, vice chairman, and secretary?
Sure, that could go in where the co-chair's thing
Right.
is, instead of.
Where are we? What page?
We're on page 3, about halfway
Page
down,
3.
co-chairs.
I think operating principles. I think that's
Oh,
kind
you're
of
on two
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It says operate independently, including the commissioners.
You're on 2, Elaine?
Page 2. The mission, the goals, and operating principles, and it says operating principles.
I think that that's good, isn't it, to make us independent?
I like that.
Do you
As
like-
long as
you
we
like
agree
that?
on that.
You like that?
As long as we agree on it.
Yeah.
I don't see any problem with the operating principles.
No, as long as we agree.
I think we should have all our meetings in secret. In the jury room.
Yeah. We'll over the black rose.
Don't put that in.
No.
I'm putting it in the minutes.
You better not. You better not. Liz.
Okay, I'll read.
All right,
Oh, the world needs a good laugh now and then.
don't quote me on that.
On that page 4 of the RCC, well, the third item is, they have an administrative assistant.
Yeah. You change that to the
The
I don't know,
secretary.
maybe Heidi could be our administrative assistant. I mean, she does a lot of she stores the records and does a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I could do that if.
I mean, would you be okay with that terminology, Scott, with the commissioners would be?
The only thing on that is how, remember how we were gonna pay her? Because if you go and administer, then it's gotta look at the steps. So maybe give me a week and I can look into that, please.
Or a week or even the next meeting, because there's, right, exactly,
Otherwise, you
Right.
go in there, you start doing grades, and then you open it up.
right.
You can do it slowly.
On page 4, we have to decide what a quorum is for
So
us,
we'll just
because
not-
it's not 10 members, huh? That's down towards the bottom.
Yeah, we'll just,
So do we want to decide on what constitutes a quorum?
Not just a majority of
A majority of the members must be present. Okay, I'm happy with that.
Did we have an idea what they wanted to do? We talked about it, and I don't.
was it $10 or $15, Heidi, what was it that we wanted to pay you?
I had down that there was just a budget of 150, but I don't know for sure.
Because we wanted to pay you like for 4 hours at least, you know, sometimes it might be more.
I think you have to budget for, the way I understood it was like 500 anyway,
Oh, okay.
which is fine.
That meant for everything, not just something.
Yeah.
Right,
But then it comes.
I'm sorry, what are we up to now?
Then it breaks it down
Oh,
into line.
Well, we kind of went back to compensation for Heidi
right,
and
right.
because the record keeping.
right.
I don't think I want the Montana Forest Collaboration
Yeah, we gotta
Network.
cross that out.
Pardon?
You gotta delete that.
You're gonna leave it there?
No, delete it.
Oh, delete it. I didn't hear that, okay.
Everybody agree with that?
Which part was that, John?
Page 4.
MFCN website. Delete.
A link to the MFCN website.
Oh, okay, but I still would like us to join the MFCN website. I think it would give us a powerful base and we get great support from them. And Bill, I apologize, I was gonna send you Tim Love's contact info,
Right.
and I will do that.
Okay. Well, we could sure look into joining the Montana Forest Collaboration Network. But I think for the time being,
Get set up
we'd
first.
stay off their website.
Right, right.
And that'd be something for us to decide if that was something we wanted to join or not.
We should have a vote on it maybe, huh?
Yeah, and I don't know enough about it.
You gotta stay off of it.
Anybody wanna make a motion to stay off of it for a while?
Well, I think until you get organized as a, you can't get on it anyway.
Oh,
The way
Yeah, but anybody can join individually, you know, you don't have to.
Right.
As
You
you're
don't have to join as a
you're
group,
representing
keep track of
the
what's going on.
You're representing the group and we don't have a resolution.
Yeah.
So I move that we postpone
Just take that.
dealing with the MFCN until we have a chance to study whether or
I
not
second that.
we're gonna do it
everybody
as a
agrees?
group or.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Well, this is just like a reading of it, since we didn't do it, and so we're making the changes on it. And maybe by the next meeting, then we discuss it with the changes, and that's when we accept it.
Exactly.
But we also need the resolution creating the group, because this is different from, I read theirs, and it was totally different. There's a resolution by the county commissioners, and then there's this. So we need that from Blaine. So this is just putting this, so I don't think making any, we all agree to delete and changes. And so we put it on here and I think kind of sign it that we agree, initial it, and then it'd be typed up. And then the second reading or the first reading would be next month. That's just what I'm saying.
So you'll make the changes then,
Oh,
on this?
yeah, I still have, I'm having a problem as far as secretary and all that other stuff, so I'm thinking whether or not I want to be a secretary.
Okay, anybody else wanna do it?
Until we
Don't
get
make eye
the,
contact.
yeah,
I said, don't make eye contact.
Yeah, I see.
Everybody look at their shoes.
Yes.
because here's another thing on here, it says, minutes will be shared electronically and archived. Where do we archive the minutes? You know, what are we doing now, putting in a box, or
I don't
or
know if
Heidi
it's-
has to bring them every week, and where do we check it?
Well, I have at home, you know, they're on my file, you know, in a file at home.
Right, yeah.
Well, hard copy and,
Google is saving
and on the
your
computer.
documents.
Yeah, so,
Sure they are.
That's-
so
that's
I don't know
fine.
whether
Now
that's
that's
No, that's-
considered or not.
That's good enough.
That's good enough.
I mean, I
So
dropped
you don't wanna be
the hard
secretary?
copy.
Okay.
I said,
Let's just
I
get
need
this
to
all.
think about it, because, you know, we don't have anything, it's just like Bill said, we're putting the cart, we don't even have.
Well, we're trying to get something
Who's he
done,
watching?
and the
Well,
commissioners
okay.
have been a little slow in creating us,
Yeah.
but we're still trying to get something done.
We're still
Well, this
here.
is a start in getting it done.
Right, and once we're created, I would say, and maybe the commissioners would have her done by next time we meet, I don't know.
push on it too, 'cause
You
we're
think?
gonna try and-
And then maybe we'd already be ready to read this in the modified form and make further comments on our mission
If I can
statement.
get somebody to do this and then send it out to you guys, and then we can go over it, and then by next time we can have it.
So you think you
Get somebody
could,
here to do it?
I'll ask Mike.
yeah,
Or she don't come, right?
Because I don't,
I'm not
I,
speaking for you.
Michael.
I can take, I'm not that proficient in this stuff. I can get the PDF and I can't, it has to be shown on it, the corrections, okay? That's the way I think of it. You gotta show the corrections, what we're adding and stuff like that. And,
let's
I
just
don't know
have,
how to
let's
do
just
that.
have Mike do it.
Yeah. Mike.
Okay.
Because we're not starting with our own document, we're starting with something else.
Right,
And so,
exactly.
whatever Mike creates, then we'll go through what we just did with this, we'll do it, and that'll be basically the first reading.
That's
I'll have
right.
Mike
Yeah, you're
touch
right.
bases with you on it too, so,
Okay,
okay.
But give him a copy, we'll have to give him a copy of the changes.
I'll go see Mike afterwards, I can give him my copy unless you want to. And then maybe Mike could mail it out like a week before our next meeting, so we can all take a good look at it.
that'd be super.
Yeah.
Make sure we got all your mailing addresses.
I think
I'm
he's,
sure you have.
the email addresses, he can get those from Heidi, but I'll have,
if he needs them, sure.
yeah.
I don't know if you guys notice that when I send something to the group, it goes through GC FMAC.
Goes where?
It says GC FMAC, and everybody's name is under it. So all I do is, and I pull that up, and I send it out to everybody. So everybody's on that list.
Right, you have
So would you
like
like him to send
A
it to
group.
Matt?
a distribution group.
Right,
So I
exactly.
can just email that to Mike, I'll just make up like, you know, and then he'll just have all your addresses.
So this
I
way
think
it's
that's-
there.
Yeah, okay, but we'll figure out, if you don't mind, if there's a little back and forth with Mike and I, do you mind? I mean, they're just my,
No.
that,
No.
okay. Okay,
I really get it done.
then- Right,
I mean, if somebody don't step up, obviously, I'm not
well,
getting there. I've been so busy on other.
Well, is there any major changes?
right,
Give
the
it a
committee,
call.
but I mean, I'm just, you know, say he forgets and does an RCC, I might just work with him on that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not gonna like rewrite it or anything.
I'm good with
Okay.
Okay, the
I
form
just
we're
tried to
changing.
check their website, and I couldn't find a copy of that on their website.
Oh, for Valley County?
Yeah, the
Interesting,
collaborative.
because it is supposed to be on their website.
it. Revali's it was.
That's where Scott got it.
I didn't see it. Maybe I just been searching the wrong.
Well, Scotty, if you go to the Ravalli County website, and then you go to the collaborative, the link goes to Montana Network, and that's where
Yeah.
everything is.
So their bylaws are.
They have everything, they're the ones
That'll
that are
make it easy
keeping the
to
file.
Everything's
type
on
out,
there.
so.
Okay.
Okay, on 4, we're changing the form to just a majority. Did you have that written down?
Yep.
And let's see, where was that at?
Down there at the bottom,
Okay,
3 up.
Just majority.
requires a majority.
I don't know if we want to do the thumbs up or sideways.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Wow.
What's sideways?
It's not a no, right? It's
Yeah,
not a no,
but
it's not a
they're-
yes, it's like an abstain.
Yeah, maybe.
And
For
then you know what
the,
comes down is,
Yeah.
Not the middle finger.
sorry. I insist on the middle finger.
Did I quote you?
No, don't put that down.
Kidding.
So for
We got our own
majority, do
cluster.
you mean of those present or a majority of the entire group? Because we could have a meeting where there's only 4 people. I mean, that could happen sometimes if
That would be
everybody's.
good to vote at a time like that.
Right,
Well, it has to be, what do you?
Everybody.
Everybody, yeah.
a
Yeah.
majority
So
of
3 showed
members.
up, you couldn't do it.
Right,
So,
that's what we should do.
A majority of members, is that okay?
Yeah.
So what do you want to do about the thumbs up or sideways? Do you want that?
You can just leave it in, you know,
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
We can always change these.
Right,
exactly.
Scott, thank you for getting these.
What about that contact,
Appreciate that.
external communications, first sentence?
On the first page?
Page 5.
Page 5.
First paragraph there. Or second paragraph, sorry. I don't really know what that,
You know what it means?
no,
I don't know.
that's what I said, I don't know what that means, I don't understand. Does anybody know?
Which one was it?
Page 5, second paragraph, that external communications are, I don't know that.
I think, what I understand it to mean is that if we were dealing with the Forest Service, one of us would be in contact with one person from the Forest Service. I think that, you know, our group
Instead of all
and the
lines.
agencies, that'd be like, say, the Forest Service or BLM, will each identify one point of contact, one person for each project. So if we were talking to the Forest Service about something, we'd have one person that dealt with one person out there.
Didn't we have Chuck to do that? Didn't we hire you to do that, Chuck?
You know, we
Be
should
our
change that.
spokesman?
It should be Bill.
It should
Well,
not be.
and-
Definitely Bill.
But it might be one person, we may have a half dozen projects in a couple years,
That's
and maybe
right.
Bill would
And-
do one.
and maybe I'd do
Elena
one.
would do one.
Maybe I'd do one.
You
But-
maybe go
I would do-
between person, between the group.
But I think we already did what that first
Right.
sentence says, is we said, when we're
Right.
talking to the
I
Forest Service,
understand
you're
the
gonna be the person that speaks for our
Right.
group.
It should be you.
Well,
Yeah, but that's not what we decided.
yeah, and it depends on the project. But yeah, I think the reasoning is so that there's not like 5 people going and running to Cameron Razor and saying, you know, our committee said this. And
Or running to somebody else out there.
So we want
Right,
to change it or
exactly.
leave it like it is?
I think we could leave it for now.
yeah, I think it's good.
Sounds good.
Bill, you'd be good too to talk to the Forest Service.
He does it anyway.
Right.
I have a question,
Either one
how
of
do
you
we
guys.
know what projects they're on?
I wonder if maybe Cameron could come and talk to us at our next meeting.
He said he would, but when it's this particular date that we pick, it seems like that's the same exact date for this Beaverhead Deer Lodge working group that he attends all the time.
Sure.
That's the one that, like Tony Coulter is in that group.
And Maureen Connor is in that group. Do you think we could change our meetings to like the 3rd Thursday or something?
Do whatever you want, because we haven't set up nothing yet. I mean, we just been doing like.
Well,
First or third?
Okay, so if the idea is we'd like to get Cameron here to talk to us,
Exactly.
and if he can't come on this particular date that we always meet on,
We could, you can change it, because we
can we,
haven't done a
can
resolution
we
yet.
just change the date? Can we do that on the fly, or do we have to know right now?
We got 48 hours to change it, but if you wanted to, where you haven't done a resolution, you haven't nothing on what your meetings and everything, if you wanted to change the date of it, you can.
Surely we can change the date, we don't even really exist.
Cart before the
Sure.
horse.
Why not? Let's just leave it like it is on the Wednesdays,
Okay.
and if something works out, we can get him on a Thursday.
Then we
You want me
can-
to call
And there's
Cam right
time-
now?
There's
Okay.
time, there's times
All right.
that like
Are you going to?
somebody could go
Well,
see him.
I was just gonna call him and
yeah.
see if he could come sometime.
Yeah.
You know that. There's times that somebody could go see him and then report back to the meeting what's going on too.
But it'd be nice to have him here too.
Right now it's gonna be tough with fires and.
Right, exactly.
Do they meet once a month or anything?
They do, I think.
I think it is once a
Because then
month.
maybe somebody can attend that, to hear
Right.
what they're talking about, and then
Right.
report back.
Okay, I think.
So
Yeah,
Maureen
they're
Cox.
at Deer Lodge, I think,
Right,
Where the-
I think so.
Deer
Where
Lodge
they-
and Dillon,
or Dillon, where they meet.
Dillon.
What group is this?
Beaverhead Deer Lodge Collaborative.
Well, no, I mean the Forest Service.
Oh,
They're local here. They
right,
should know what the projects are for Granite County.
right.
That's what
So
I said,
they can
maybe
go into
somebody
their
could go
meeting.
ask them what they got going on. Because I know they were talking when they come in.
Wouldn't they
Well,
have them right on their website? Don't they have?
I don't
The
think they really
projects?
know what they're doing yet, because I know they were talking about, they got that money to do trails.
Oh, I see what you're talking
Got-
about. Okay.
And then there's some other stuff to where you, when they were in there talking the other day, you know, they're doing the culverts right now and stuff, but there's other stuff they want.
So where are we at here?
Okay.
We want somebody to go to their meeting?
Okay, I'd be happy to go out and ask Cam or call him and just say, is there some time you could meet with our group? And maybe we could just have a special meeting then, if he's really tied up, but he has a certain time he could come, if we decide we want to have him come and talk to us. We haven't decided that yet.
How do you spell his name? Cam?
It's
Cameron, C-A-M-E-R-O-N, R-A-S-O-R.
Okay.
Or two, when they get on the commissioners meeting, on the agenda, right? They tell you what's going on. And maybe somebody from the group can attend that one.
And there, sounds like they'll be coming in every Tuesday, Elena, because they're
There
giving
you
some
go.
dates on the work we're doing.
And the timber restoration and the cleanup and
That's
all
what I'm
that
saying
other stuff,
now.
yeah.
So if you want to hear what he says, just go to the meeting.
And then somebody should report it back to us, so we know what projects there are to discuss.
Yeah, all he was talking about this time was just, he was in a big hurry because they're headed to the fire and it's going good with culverts, ordered more culverts. I think I'm getting way ahead of the agenda. Anyway, it's pretty much he'll come in and give about a 5-minute deal.
So, if we want to hear Cameron, we can go to the commission meeting.
I'll call him and talk to him, I'll get on to it.
Going back to this, so we're all good with this? Sue will give
Yeah,
Mike her copy?
Yes.
I'm fixing it right now, and I'll go down right after our meeting and talk to Mike.
He'll get this done right away.
Right,
He's pretty good like that.
he's really good, he's a jewel.
They asked me to say, could you get this done?
I'll do that.
Then next meeting, we can probably vote and accept this.
Right, we might have a few other little changes or something, or we might not. Sure.
Don't you have a first reading and vote on it? But you can do all that in the same meeting. Set it up in the agenda, first reading, and then decision on it, say down the line, like down at number 4 or 5.
So we'll have to,
On your agenda, that way if we went through and wanted to change them, then when you got to it again, then you could make a motion, say, well, we accept this with this changes. That'd be your second reading.
so we'll have to make sure Margie knows that
Yeah.
on the,
I'm just trying to say, so we
No,
can get it done, and
exactly.
otherwise we'll have to wait another time, or have a special meeting this way, if we put it twice,
Sure.
or you can, that's all I.
So just get it down on the agenda, that we're gonna read the revised deal, we're gonna discuss it and make changes,
Make, and then
and then we're gonna try to have a vote on it.
make a decision, just put as a decision, discussion, decision.
Yeah, we'll have to come up with another agenda for next time without Marty here. This meeting, so you're thinking about it.
Right?
Well, we can write it down, so.
and I'll send her an email to you. And
The person just put like, this would be right here. And,
just a, okay,
because these two.
Okay, let's move on then.
good idea.
Discuss NEPA and MEPA air quality. Been pretty good so far,
Yeah,
been lucky.
I was worried the other night when I saw that smoke coming up,
Yeah.
and it was quite a bit.
Yeah. Somebody ought to remind the firefighters that what they can do if they really want to do it. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
it's all in
Well,
that.
there's a new agenda in town, I think, and it's
Well,
coming
if
from
it,
the White House.
if it turns out that they got this little fire out at Medicine Lake, if they got it out, then it wouldn't hurt for any of us on our own and anybody else to call up and give them a little pat on the ass. You know,
Yeah,
hey,
good
boy,
idea.
you know,
Yeah.
the skies are clear and
Thank you.
I guess that fire's out. And
Mhm.
thank you very much.
They were pretty worried, I know when he come in, he was pretty worried that if it would've got around the east side where it hasn't burned,
Yeah.
the west side has, that they'd never catch it.
Okay.
We got called at the fire over in Dillon, you know, the big hole, they got some bad ones over there. Yeah. Jackson. Isn't that the big hole? Jackson?
Mhm.
Yep.
Mountain, yeah.
Down by Wisdom.
Yeah, that's where the fire's at, it's a pretty bad one, around the ranches and stuff like
So I guess under air quality, it's a so far so good situation.
I think it's,
All right.
that.
here it is.
Yeah.
Could
But I heard
change.
the quality of the other places isn't good,
Yeah. Like what other places?
wherever the fires are. It's, they had the report on that.
Oh, like Libby and, you mean, up there?
California.
California Falls are getting socked in.
They got fires up there, don't they, like on the border of Idaho and
Yeah.
Montana?
And then they got them in Washington.
Yeah.
And that's not even talking about California.
Oh, boy, for California.
We can't do anything about California.
No,
Okay.
Maybe they should figure out, it's easier to put them out when it's small.
I think so.
All right.
Okay, mission statement. Anybody have a mission statement?
Yes.
I think we already handled that in this, there's a mission statement right at the head end of this thing that we're gonna have redone. So I think we've got it done.
Do you want me to ask Mike to do, or?
Oh, it's whatever you think,
He'll be good with you.
yeah, I think,
That's long.
if he gets
isn't
me
it?
any left,
Just a
I'll
few
have
words,
you
you know,
step
it's
in,
like
okay?
a paragraph.
I know, I We're actually, Mike and I are pretty good friends. But anyway, yeah.
That works for me.
Yeah, I think it's good.
At least we're getting it rolling.
We are getting it rolling.
Discuss missing meeting minutes.
Yeah, do we have them?
I don't know what that is, but it's very alliterative. Missing meeting minutes.
Say that 3 times real fast.
Yeah.
Tinkle,
Well, it sounds-
and
You know, I
Oh,
would
is it?
think that she should have it. I mean, she would have had to type it up. You know, I think wasn't it for April that we're missing? Cause I was looking at
that's
the
whenever
ones-
she quit. That was it.
Yeah, cause I took over in May, I think. May, June, oh wait,
You were gonna
no.
talk to her.
No, I was June, July,
What'd she
August,
say?
so it was May, for May.
She said, go back and look on your thing,
Who said this?
Becky.
Becky.
Oh, go back and look on her, that's,
Well,
Did
cause she
get
took
paid?
them because she was sitting here. She would have had to have them.
well, she lost them then, and there's nothing we can do about that.
I think
Is
we're
it that
glad- I
important
think we're
since we
glad
don't
on-
even really exist?
I mean, this isn't gonna.
Well, I don't know.
Let's
Did we
just-
decide on the
That's my
members, the chair, and it was at the meeting we decided on the chair and everything else?
What's that?
Was that the meeting that we decided on the chair and who was gonna be secretary and all that other good stuff?
I think it was the first meeting I believe I went to.
Maybe you don't
Or
exist
first
either,
or
Chuck.
second.
Yeah,
Yeah, you didn't exist back
this
then.
whole thing is gone.
We were just thinking about you.
But, you know, it's, we have it on electronics, so if we have to refer to that.
Okay.
That should have stopped the whole process.
Yeah, I say we just drop this missing
Yeah,
meeting.
I've asked.
Is that a motion?
Yeah.
I move we
What's
drop
that,
it.
Elena?
I second that.
I'm
All in
just,
I
favor?
agree.
Why not? You make your rules.
Wait,
maybe.
no, absolute thumbs up. Okay.
Okay, new business. I think we have some new business. Did you have some new business?
Well, I don't know what you were talking about, but I did talk to the landowner, and we could go out there for a field trip and go on up to Moose Lake and see where that wilderness is. Might be a nice time to go up there and do it. We just gotta have a date. you know.
I've had a couple other, had a couple other people who were wondering if it'd be all right if they went. I said, I'll ask, I said, it's a public thing, so I didn't think it hurt.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
The more the better.
Yeah.
Would be, you know, I think it'd be
I didn't
wonderful.
want to
Yeah.
be speaking out of turn, but I just,
The one I want to take you to is on Ann Sanders' old ranch. We have a grant program going. My son wrote a grant on it, and it was private land. They couldn't afford to clean up the mess, you know how that is. And the timber isn't worth much, so Kevin wrote up a grant. And when there's not bad fires, there's money in the pot, you know, that we could get grant money to help these ranchers out. But he has wonderful pictures of how it looked before, and then we can show you. We're working on streamside management there, ponds, but it'd be really interesting, I think. And it's a place we loved years ago, and it's just really looking good now. And
so you
I
don't
grass
have no
seeded it, a
problem
lot of
somebody
grass in
coming.
it, and pasture. But we could, it's just right on the way, you know, to Moose Lake, and then we go on up
Just
to
wanna make
Moose
So
Lake.
you want to set this up then and, let us all know
Yeah,
when-
you just let us
when-
know when we can do it, and the landowner just wants to know when we're coming in, so she knows.
Who
That's
bought
awesome.
Annie's place?
It's Kevin and Eva Nijis. They were ranchers out of Wyoming, I think. But he has a job,
Oh, I know them.
yeah, he's,
Right. Doug Rabio built their house.
yes, that's
Yeah,
right,
right.
that's right. He is all over the
So
world.
it's the place on the right. The
Yeah, going
house
up
is-
towards, yeah, that big home on the right,
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
sure.
But he goes all over the world with his job. He works out of his home. and-
Just make a day and a time and see if we can make it this time.
I think she's from
I'll pass
Poland though. She's
Oh,
got
is
an
she?
accent.
Okay, yeah, we
She
just
likes
met them
horses
once.
and-
Yeah, I know she's got horses.
Yeah, I'm gonna go riding with her one of these days.
I wonder if we should wait till it cools a bit, you
That
know,
would be
a month
nice.
or
That would be
6
really
weeks
good.
even, and then
Yeah.
maybe we'll get some
Won't
rain.
be this
in the
week.
meantime. No, it won't be this week. It won't be tomorrow.
I would like
Must
to
be
go
100.
and, we're working in, so
Really?
Kevin, my son, can take us around.
My brother
Sure.
David
Right.
in Washington said it was
We're
supposed to
hoping
get
to finish in
100.
September.
Yeah, supposed
so
to.
Yeah.
maybe around the 1st of September.
Anyway.
Here?
Okay, so maybe in September,
Yeah.
middle of September?
Well, I want it when we're still up there, so Kevin can explain what we're doing, you know, and the
Well,
project.
he's not there now, he's over in Jackson.
No, he's not. We're not fighting fire this year. We gotta finish this grant, so we'd rather be fighting fire, I think, but, we got some contracts we gotta finish.
Okay, so we'll leave it up to you. You can set up any date you want.
Yeah, just whenever you guys wanna go up there, so.
Well,
we
it's
can
gonna
do
be
it.
hard to figure, you're just gonna have to set a date, because it's
Yeah.
hard
All
to
right.
sit and pick around.
You pick
when
up
you're not
what's good for
in
you.
town.
Right,
All right,
exactly.
okay.
People
After
go
the
over.
fair, how about we do it after the fair? so
Yeah,
you can-
I really think September would be good. I think Wednesday is a good day because
Okay.
obviously that works
That's
for all of
church
us.
day, you know. That'd be
Well-
late in the evening, and
Okay, let's,
But make sure it's true.
We'll work around you, Scott.
how about the last weekend?
I know you are.
Let me see.
Last week in September.
I couldn't say something
Last
smart, but I
weekend,
won't.
August, right, first weekend.
Okay, no, I'm not. You can.
We're gonna be finished with that grant in September, and I don't know what time, and I just
Oh,
want Kevin
that's-
to be
that's
there so
good.
he can explain the
takes
project.
a lot.
So we'll leave that up to you.
All right,
Just let us
I'll ask Kevin how long.
I hope not.
Okay.
New business.
Well, I was gonna ask about, you have that thing, letters, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. I was gonna ask if anybody went to that hearing yesterday in Ravalli County.
I think it was,
Gianforte was
I
there?
think it was closed, wasn't it? I mean, they only let a few people
No,
in.
it was public.
Oh,
It's public, we couldn't say anything,
oh, okay.
and only let a few in.
Yeah, that's what I heard, only a few people.
It was packed. I guess it's gonna be, it was live streamed and that'll be online, so that should be interesting to
Yeah.
see. NPR had a good report on it. I thought that was interesting.
NPR.
What was the meeting?
Gianforte had a meeting about forest management, and they talked about wildfires, and then an ex-commissioner got up and he didn't like it because he didn't think we were having public hearings to discuss it where the public was allowed to get in on it. That's your collaboration process. And yeah, I think the collaboration process is good, but then when it comes down to the government making a decision, the final decision, that's the coordination process. And so these are all environmentalists that were there that were all upset about it.
Well, there's still a lot of dissatisfaction on the part of our green brothers and sisters about the fact that our representatives are trying to do something about the fact that the wilderness study area process has been hung up for long past the congressional mandated 5-year deadline. And as I have said before, you can read in almost any of these articles that are on that side that are criticizing our representatives that there's a lack of public input and lack of collaboration and you know, wah, 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 as far as I'm concerned. The fact is, I think one of the reasons that things are changing now is that the courts changed what we had going to begin with, which was the courts, for instance, where there were roads in these wilderness study areas. Before, the Forest Service said, keep using the roads. And the courts, especially the Ninth Circuit, changed it around. And they're biased in favor of non-motorized use and recreation. And it just should have never gone on this long. And there's been a tremendous amount of public input over the years. Lots of input. Lots of input. And so I just think these people are wrong when they're angry because it looks as if the pendulum might be swinging away from the Greens just a little bit. And so all of a sudden there's panic, and then there's, we need to have more input. You know, they're probably mad that Trump got elected as well. I don't know, you know, but the fact is there's been a lot of input already. And as we have discussed amongst ourselves, just because they get rid of the label wilderness study area doesn't mean that it'll be managed any differently. That's
So it's highly regulated anyway.
It's-
All our national forests are.
right. And there are areas I could point out of the Beaverhead Deer Lodge National Forest that are not wilderness study areas that have been recommended for wilderness protection by the forest plan. And when they do that, then they lock the motorized users out. And those aren't wilderness study areas. Those are places, and some of them may have some wilderness value, if you want to know the truth. But it bothers me to see the tone of these anti-Danes, mainly the anti-Danes comments in the paper. I think there's a lack of understanding on the part of those editorial writers. And some of it's on purpose. They use these charged phrases like, you know, I'm trying to think of some of them now, you know, that they're going to scrap the protections.
You know,
That's just not
Chuck
true.
brought it up last meeting. The environmentalists are being given tons of money by Soros, these billionaires in Sweden. They get this money and then they can litigate and, you know, just program our whole forest concept and how we're going to manage it. But this shows you right there who's given money to what, you know. And this isn't even the Alliance of the Wild
It was
Rockies.
Fish, Wildlife, and Parks statistic that I went to a meeting with them, and that was their statistic on the amount that's coming from overseas.
Oh, it's
here.
terrible.
Really?
That's where they get their money, and then they got
I
the
mean, they
money to
didn't make it up.
mitigate, control it, and they want to change the West.
Well,
They want to
it's-
lock it up.
And it's
They
not
do.
all out of country money. Ted Turner, you know, God love him. He is a huge contributor to the lock the motorized users out of the forest movement. He's a
Well, that
huge
brings up this
contributor.
letter that the Valley County Commissioners wrote to Tim Fox, wanting him to investigate where this money's going. Did you see that? Well, you sent it out there.
I sent
Yeah,
it
yeah.
already. Blaine got a copy of it.
Yeah, I read it.
He also got a copy of this information of the United Property Owners of Montana. I spoke to Christina Martin, she's the Pacific Legal Foundation. I also gave her a copy of the coordination information. And she read the first page and she said, this is really interesting. I got her card, and I guess Blaine, maybe you'll talk to her about it. Kristen Juris, she was there. She's a professor at the U of M. Very interesting information about, what do you call those, conservation easements? How that's something you really should watch if you're thinking about putting some of your property into that. Will Coggin, he was the one, he did a great presentation about the green decoys. And that's in that.
I have
That
that. Oh, I
list.
read that today.
That's right, that's another one.
Yeah,
So
they-
explain the green decoy.
There are a bunch of like sportsmen and hunters and whatever. They claim they care about things,
They're
but
one of us. They try to make it
Yeah.
believe. We're with you, Chuck. We love hunting and all that.
and it goes into it on the
Yeah,
letter,
but they're just decoys.
that letter. There's a whole bunch in that letter that Ravalli County sent to Attorney Fox about the green decoys in there.
Who was the guy when Danes came down to Sportland just to kind of see a successful local business? There was a guy, was he from the Montana Wildlife Federation? I don't remember, but he was from he was not a Wilderness Association guy. And boy, he had his camera, I've mentioned this before, and he's about, a foot away. And he's trying to get Danes to punch him, it seemed like to me. And I felt like punching that guy because I'm never going to run for office. He was just obnoxious.
They like to disrupt
And,
meetings.
And he was
Get
disruptive. And Steve would turn away to talk to somebody else, and then this guy would ride around. you know,
Oh, try to,
recording him and just
same
trying
thing
to-
that happened with Greg. you
Well,
know?
yeah, Jim Forty, of course, and he did punch him.
Yeah.
I cheer you on, I thought,
And
great.
not a politically astute move, but not
Should've
so
waited till after
secretly.
he
I
got
I
thought
think
it
he
was
was dating
fine.
him. I think he was
I
dating
thought it
him.
was fine. So Steve just kept on smiling, and then eventually, I think he left early, because the whole idea, it seemed to me, I haven't been around much of that. That's unhelpful behavior on the part of that guy. And he was something to do with Montana wildlife. And Trout Unlimited, you know,
Yeah.
And Ducks Unlimited.
they're kind of
all-
behind this. Let me make a plug right now. Hopefully, all of you will investigate this I-186, which would kill mining in Montana.
Yes.
It's,
You should have been in the parade. We were in the parade, and Heidi wrote it on our sign.
yeah,
See, the Wise Foundation
Oh, yeah, I
here-
said no.
yeah.
I-186.
I-186 is very unhelpful.
The Wise Foundation on this, they're really pushing to stop mining and logging and ranching in Montana.
And so it's not enough that the state of Montana and the Department of Environmental Quality have made these 30 or 40 extra new rules, and that they've really increased the bonding requirements for mining, and they've tried to really improve the oversight, okay? It's not enough that they've done all that. These people just are anti-mining. I don't know where you're going to get metals to go into your Apple phone or whatever. Well,
Or steel.
where you're going to get them is from overseas, where they mine willy-nilly and pollute the hell out of the one world, you
Yeah.
know? But not in my backyard, I guess.
Kyle Cummings came up to me and he wanted if I had information on I-186. So
Is there gonna be
I
signs?
gave him information
I've got a
to
sign out on
call.
my lawn, stop I-186.
Where you go?
They came out of Butte.
Which is sort of ironic when you think about the pit at Butte.
It's kind of, well, it has thrown,
I mean,
it has thrown a
you
big,
see what I'm saying, right?
it has thrown a big wedge.
I don't see what you're saying.
Does, you see the
How would this
irony?
affect, how would that affect the Butte mine or the copper mine?
Well, here's how it would affect it, as originally written. Do you really want to know? Okay. Originally what happened was there was a bill in committee in the legislature, and the bill would have shut Butte, shut Whitehall, and probably shut the Stillwater complex down. Okay? That bill failed in committee on a straight party line vote. Democrats voted for that bill that would have shut Butte down, and Republicans voted against that bill. That bill failed. And by the way, this Kathleen Williams, she was on the committee, and she was one of the ones that voted for the bill that would have shut Butte and Whitehall down.
Is she related to Pat Williams?
I don't know that.
I don't think so.
So what happened then was, that was dead. So then the initiative process, okay, that's how they got the cyanide ban in Montana. They ran they were gathering signatures for the initiative, and the initiative was exactly the same as the bill in the legislature. Well, some of our Butte Democrat legislators, like Jim Keene and some of the other ones, they went to these people promoting this initiative and said, hey, it would kill our economy. And they changed a few words in the bill so that it would prevent, well, what they said was it would allow Butte and Whitehall to keep going. Here's the problem with that. And I think they have enough signatures. The problem with that is, what's been mined in Butte over the last 30 years is the East Pit. The East Pit is different than what was mined before, which was the underground mines there and the Berkeley. The East Pit will run out at some point, but there are other great prospects. Butte is one of the finest mineral deposits that God ever created. Okay. When they went to mine the East Pit, which is what kept Butte going, they needed a new operating permit for that. Okay? This I-186 would prevent that process from happening again. In other words, it's possible that they will be able to continue to mine that one portion of the deposit, but if they decided to move to a different portion of the deposit in Butte, it would require a new permit, and it would be outlawed by this 186.
Because, and I'm not advocating for or against 186, but anything that's gonna pollute in perpetuity, which means forever, those are the mines that are outlawed, not a mine that you can mine for 30 years and remediate and fix. If it causes water pollution for the next...
But you can't guarantee that, so it'd be...
Well, I mean, that's the purpose. If it causes pollution forever, then those are the ones that are outlawed, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Except
technically...
it's in the definitions, and what they're asking you to do is basically prove the negative. It's like saying, you prove to me Bigfoot does not exist.
Yeah,
Now,
impossible.
you can't prove that, okay? You can't. Now, we're all pretty sure Bigfoot doesn't exist.
Yeah,
I seen him.
The proof,
I've been right there.
okay, the language of this thing, basically it requires the operator to prove that there will never, ever in history, ever be a need for continuing treatment.
Yeah, and they can't do that.
Well, it's
Well, some-
almost
some
impossible, it's almost impossible to prove. Not only that, what is wrong with long-term treatment? The city of Missoula will probably exist for the next couple of 100 years. They will continue to basically permanently treat their sewage there, and it's no big deal. Okay? That's just the way it is. If you want to talk about a long-term pollution problem in Montana, I promise I'm off my soapbox right after this. Go down to where the Madison River flows into Montana from Yellowstone Park. It runs 25 times the state drinking water standard for arsenic. Okay? Blue Ribbon Stream. Okay? Let's get a permanent treatment plant there. Okay? Now, it's not a mine that's polluting, it's a national park that's polluting.
It's coming, so the pollution.
25 times. It runs 240 to 250 parts per billion in arsenic.
All those hot pots and all that stuff, is that what's doing
Bingo
it?
was his name-o.
Uh-huh.
Now that doesn't seem to be bothering these people fly fishing the hell out of the river. So you have to keep this all in perspective, okay? You have to keep this in perspective. And yes, the mines that Pegasus abandoned, that was a bad thing. And money had to be appropriated. Well, actually, the money came out of the taxes that... The money came out of the mining industry to pay for all that. Don't you think that taxpayers are paying for these cleanups of Beale Mountain and Pegasus mines? That's all money the mining industry put into these trust funds, okay?
But you're telling me Anaconda Company is paying for the cleanup of Butte, the Superfund side?
ARCO.
Totally, 100%?
Absolutely. Now, I don't know what the percentage is. The taxpayer is not picking up any of the tab for Butte.
But they do sometimes, because sometimes the mining companies go defunct, and then the taxpayer does. I mean, some people see that as a job spill. Environmental cleanup is a huge...
Well, trust me, our own DEQ has vastly increased the bonding requirements for you to start a mine. The bonding requirements aren't anything like they were back in the day when Pegasus was being a bad actor, okay? The bonding requirements have gone up astronomically, and I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying the state DEQ, which oversees this, they have made these fixes to ensure that doesn't happen again.
Okay.
There you go.
Thanks, I enjoyed that.
Who
Who owns ARCO now? Is it, Danny
They are
Washington?
not.
Yeah, say, Claudette just brought this in, it's a Granite County resolution establishing a Granite County Forest Management Advisory Committee and Advisory Board. Blaine got this stuff, so pass it around. If you look down on paragraph 7, I think you'll like it.
Oh, so we got
Oh, great.
So
Where did this come from?
Claudette just brought in, I went in there and then she
You're
got a little
supposed to
Blaine
have
on
done
the
that.
phone.
So that's
And
done.
I said,
Blaine was working behind our backs.
Yes.
Is this on the resolution?
this
that-
is to establish this.
Okay.
And so you'll consider this resolution at your next meeting, will you?
Yeah, if you guys wanna get it took care of, next Tuesday I'll call,
Give me-
or I'll tell Mike to put it on the agenda, and that way the horse jumps ahead of the cart.
We could just take a look at it now.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
I guess. You wanted that collaborative on there, paragraph 7 has it.
Oh, thank you. Did you all of those?
Want me to take it?
That's okay. This time I brought up the ruler on the other side.
Thank you.
I think it was 7.
Let's see, how many members do we have?
Well, no, I wanted coordination. So if we can put coordination in that same,
And coordination, right?
Where'd you see that it wasn't coordination?
no, it's what,
That the, who-
Work with and collaborate.
Okay.
collaborative,
Oh,
but
collaborative.
to encourage the commission to coordinate, or something like that. See,
Collaborative.
it's,
Coordinate.
coordination is the commissioners with the other agencies. Collaboration is what we're doing, okay?
How about shall be both, shall be both a collaborative and a coordinated?
But we aren't coordinated. We can't coordinate with the agency.
oh,
Oh,
We
okay.
can't.
oh,
County
The
commissioners,
commissioner
yeah.
can.
Yeah,
So
elected
we
officials.
advise the
Right.
commissioners to coordinate with,
So how do you want that in there, Chuck?
Hmm.
That will work with and collaborate with other public agencies, private entities and entities and the public. How about then, be it further resolved that the FMAC will advise the county commission on matters of coordination with,
Yeah,
with agencies.
Write that down and then I'll take it back in there and he can print it out.
you say it to him again, you're right.
Okay, be it further resolved that the FMAC, that's what we are, the FMAC, which apparently we do exist. We exist because an informal resolution was made. Be it further resolved that the FMAC will advise the county
I'm
commissioners
still on further.
on matters of coordination with the aforementioned public agencies, private entities, and the public.
You,
I lost that, with the aforementioned,
Aforementioned. What a stupid word.
well, it sounds official.
Yes, it does. The aforementioned
So I
public
think-
agencies, private entities, and the public.
So if we could get that put on here,
Chuck would be happy and I'd be happy.
would you guys,
we'd be happy.
and so then I could put it on the agenda for Tuesday so we can move on this?
Does anybody have a problem with the rest of it?
Well,
Oh, I
are you
don't know.
gonna stick with the 6 members,
Oh, okay, no.
or,
Do we have to
you know,
have the
we have to
number
have
of
a
members?
majority,
and-
so it'd be really good if we had an odd number.
I thought we
Yeah,
do
it should
have
be an odd
7.
number.
We have some.
We have 1,
Yeah, so change the 6 to
Two.
7.
3, 4, 5, 6, and
And
Margie is 7.
7. So,
Okay, so we'll change that to
At
7.
least have an odd number.
Yeah,
And
change it
yeah, and so are we called FMAC?
That's what they want to call us.
Okay, so I'm gonna change, when I show this to Mike Cahill, it'll just be
Will be called the FMAC.
Forest
I think it's
Management.
easier.
But should it be
on. Granite
G? Should
County.
it
On
be,
this resolution, it should be Granite County.
We're the forest something, that's where the F comes from, right?
right?
Forest Advisory.
FMAC,
Management
Forest
Advisory
Management
Committee.
Forest Management
Advisory
Advisory.
Committee.
So it's GCFMAC on the bylaws, you okay with all that?
Yeah.
Because Granite should be in there.
Okay, FMAC is the abbreviation.
Okay.
Any
So-
F word, I'm in
Oh,
favor
this
of
is
that.
good down here where it says, yeah. Be it further resolved that the Board of Granite County Commissioners and NASDAQ will and do expect United States Forest Service to coordinate with local government as provided by CMS.
Yeah.
And then we could figure out our staggered
So you
terms.
still want what he has in there though, right? Is that right there kind of says it, but you want to?
Actually, we could strike what I said, because I didn't read down far enough. There is that coordination thing right there.
Yeah.
So do
Let's
you-
just go with, let's just go
To
with it.
coordinate. That is true, yeah,
Let's just go with this and not change nothing.
yeah.
We just changed the 6
Other
to
than
7.
this,
And then I can,
just change
I'll
the,
take-
just change
I
the note
didn't
to
read
7.
down far enough.
Yeah, I think that'd be
and
good.
then that way at least. part
So
of
the only changes will be the 7
Seven.
members.
Well, it also says here that it's bylaws approved by majority vote, so if it's on here, it's gotta go on here. Is that what,
And they have a form of the requires a majority of members, is that, are you okay with that, Chuck?
yeah,
It's
the
a-
majority, but I mean, what it says here is that, FMAC shall be consist of 6 members, we changed 7 also, unless it's so amended by the bylaws.
Okay,
And the bylaws must be approved by majority vote, and it's, just says majority here, it doesn't say anything about a specific number. You know, I don't care one way
I
or
don't
the
know,
other.
you have just as
Yeah.
long as the majority's there, if you can make a quorum, you can make a.
I think we need to see the resolution. If you're gonna go and use your Valley County bylaws, I think we should see their resolution. Because when you read their bylaws, they say to assist the forest, other local, state, and federal agencies as appropriate. But in this, you're just saying the United States Forest Service. And
Well-
you're just gonna be assisting the
Well, it
Granite
says-
County Commissioners, whereas, you know, there's 2 towns, there's other places in Granite County that are affected by the,
But down on this, be it further resolved, that we are and shall be a collaborative committee that will work with and collaborate with other public agencies, not just the Forest Service, private entities, and the public. I think
this
that,
is
I think,
good.
that covers it,
I think it is good.
myself.
I'd like to put it on the
or we
agenda.
work with them, but why can't the town come to say, you know, or if the town gets involved with something,
Well, that would
another
be
local agency,
that would be another public agency.
but that's the
How far
coordination
down does
process.
coordination go? I mean, who can use that? I know the county commissioners, but could other people, elected officials in our
The
town
towns
use
can
it?
use it.
You just have to kind of be an elected official?
Yeah, and you gotta be local government.
Yeah, it gives
A
you
local government, like the
Yeah.
mayor, could he use
You
coordination
can, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
with the Forest
Sure.
Service?
Sure.
No,
Mhm.
okay.
So it's
But we
not
can't,
just
because
the
we're not
county.
elected officials.
Yeah.
All right.
Right, we're a collaborative group.
Yeah.
So, did we get yours resolved?
I was just kind of pointing out that it says that it is contained in the bylaws, and it wasn't contained in the bylaws. And I don't know if you just want to stick with majority, or, you know, it doesn't matter to me one way or the other.
Are we changing the bylaws to have it contained in them, with all the corrections we made?
It-
No,
it-
this just says pretty much refer to the bylaws, and then it's not in the bylaws.
So I think this was just to get rolling, and then, once we have that reading, then that's when we can do the change.
Yeah, we, yeah, just,
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
right, I.
Because you need to get a resolution first before you get the bylaws, right?
Well, I don't know.
Right, and we'll have this revised, the revised
Next time.
Bylaws.
collaborative, we'll have that, and if we've got to add or subtract a
That's
sentence
why you have that.
to make it consistent with what's in here, we can do that at that time.
let's make a motion to go with this for the commissioners.
I move we approve the resolution that Blaine wrote for us.
Second,
Second.
you got a second? All agree?
I,
Okay, so are we done with the
Next meeting.
next meeting and agenda?
Okay, we gotta do agenda.
Okay, so I do have to say, I know I'm probably the only one that thinks so, but I do still stick up for the wilderness study areas. And I know it has huge public support beyond Granite County, even with a lot of Granite County people.
And I would like to say that everybody I talk to wants no more wilderness in Granite County. I don't like it because of all the, they want to do the corridors now, to take wilderness here or there, and they want to join these corridors. There's a bill back there. I am totally against wilderness. And I know we have a lot of people in Granite County that do not want to know
Chair,
wilderness.
if I could get this on the agenda.
And I'm
So,
somewhere between you two guys. What I would say is, I was always very happy with the management of the
Thank you,
wilderness
Scott.
study areas for the first 30 years. I was.
Well, but,
There was no problem in my mind for the first 30 years. What I object to is the way that they have changed that whole thing in the last 7 or 8 years.
You know, Granite County also is so much government. Do we really want to lock out more land and more land? I want to go cut some firewood. I want to ride my four-wheeler. This is my land, and I'm tired of them locking me out. And I don't like these corridors. That's going to cover private property. They don't want ranching in it. They don't want logging, mining, or anything in these corridors. That's a powerful bill. People back east, they're going to vote for this unless we start standing up against it.
Yeah, which it's related, but it's a little different than the wilderness study area thing. In my mind, is a very narrow thing, you know, and that's probably something we could talk about next time.
yeah, it's something we always return to this same argument, and I should have let it go. But I thought if I didn't say anything, you might think I agreed with you.
Well, the
Okay,
commissioners
let's do the
already-
agenda.
the commissioners already wrote a letter
Oh,
supporting.
Right.
What's that?
The commissioners already wrote a letter supporting declassification, so that's.
Yeah, they really did.
And they also wrote a
So it's
letter
done.
supporting more hearings, and they stand by both letters, but anyway, it's time to move on.
Okay, we gotta do agenda for next time. So
Well-
we'll discuss the commissioner's resolution, obviously. That'll be on there. Introduction, approval of minutes, discussion with commissioners on budget.
When's the fair over?
It's over on Sunday.
Oh.
It goes from Tuesday to Sunday.
Okay.
So, but did we kind of table the discussion of commissioners' resolution, the commissioners on the committee budget, Lane's coordination memo, and the bylaws? So those were all tabled for the next meeting?
Exactly.
Okay,
They all need more discussion.
okay.
Only. Air quality, that was supposed to be on, something might pop up.
Smoke.
And the mission statement,
but
that'll be part of the other.
The next meeting is
other
gonna,
stuff.
we're gonna be talking about almost all the same things we talked about here.
Right.
And we'll have more information at that time.
Right.
It looks like to me.
Well, not the missing minutes.
No, the missing
Yeah, that's-
minutes are gone.
Okay.
What about the mission statement? Does that one need to be still on there?
Well, see,
That's
it's
part
in
of this.
part of the bylaws.
That's part of the
Right.
bylaws.
Yeah,
And
so,
Yeah, so we'll talk about it as with the bylaws.
and so that thing for next Wednesday is still on? Terry White for next
Terry
Wednesday
White,
is still
next
on?
Wednesday.
I know it's still on,
What
Okay.
time is that?
two
Two.
Here, right,
here. Next Wednesday.
okay, that's right.
And I
Any
can't,
questions?
But that other group's gonna be in the
no,
jury.
thank you, I'll
Email me
email you.
all.
Apparently, they're gonna be in the jury room.
Like a vote.
Okay,
Shall I
thank you.
make our
Appreciate that.
field trip
Did you ever go
on
up
a
to the
Wednesday?
jury room?
Like
Oh, I've been on
should our
juries
field trip be
before.
on a Wednesday?
We found
The
some.
one
Does it have to be on a
Yeah.
Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing up there.
Don't they have some maps or something upstairs?
Anybody want to make a motion to,
I move
Books
we
up there
adjourn.
and everything.
I second that.
oh,
Yeah.
agree?
Great.
Okay, I'm gonna run down and see my cable right now. I got a
Thank you.
question for you.
I've never been on a
Are you gonna
jury, by
give
the way.
Marty the
Me neither.
agenda?
They won't pick me.
Well,
Yeah, I never made those notes, so why don't you check, thank you.
I said, well, first of all, I felt I didn't have to fill out
I
that.
got a question now, over there down in Granite, what county is that? Is that?
That is Deer Lodge.
Deer Lodge, yeah.
Oddly enough.
Now,
They
are some
claim
of
they
the,
don't
like
have
Chris
that
and some of the, like Chuck, are they going to meeting
I
with
believe
their
in
county
juvenile.
commissioners, you know, on that whole kind of study?
They have met with them, and I'm not
It's
quite
built
sure
right into
how
the
that-
system.
Because they could do that.
Yep.
Right,
You can
exactly.
find
Yeah,
however you
right.
want to find.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, to get
Yeah,
that going.
and you
Right.
can, most states.
So you
Okay,
only
right.
put in so many hours, otherwise then we'll have to go through and do a resolution, because then we'll
Right.
be hiring her as a county employee.
So we
Okay.
make a motion to put it to you guys
Yep.
to pay her.
Yep.
Okay, that's all we gotta do.
Yep.
Okay,
We don't,
But we don't know how much. Do we, does it matter? Do I
Start
just,
out, whatever, I just say whatever, start out pay is for the county, I'm not
the
sure.
standard fee is just.
Right,
standard
exactly,
fee? Okay.
right.
That's all I put on the
I mean,
claim,
Yeah, like
standard
for a
fee.
secretary in the treasurer's office or something like that. It's a lot of work. It is a lot of
It's-
work.
it's-
Important work. It is
You're
important.
not gonna do it for memoir.
So somebody make a
No.
motion that we give it to the commissioners,
Okay.
the,
I so move.
okay, second, all agree?
Aye.
Okay, so
Okay.
So what
pass
are we
that.
giving commissioners? A claim for a minute? Okay.
Yeah, you put in a claim for the time you've put in so far. At 12 or 15 or whatever you want to put in, they can always do what they want, I suppose.
Well, we'll have to review it anyway, look at it, make sure.
That's right.
it'll come
Make
back.
sure it's all in
I mean,
line.
that
Back
way you
pay?
don't have to- Otherwise, you have to go through and make a, what's that?
Is that back pay? I mean, how much
She will
was,
be, yeah, right.
okay.
Yeah, you have to.
So Becky was getting $12 an hour, I understand, right?
I think, I'm not sure.
I thought that was what it was.
If it's that, that's fine. I don't have nothing wrong with whatever you guys want to do.
Whatever Becky was getting
You gotta
paid.
make
Yeah,
it worth your
that-
time,
that's
but you gotta
fair.
make sure and keep the hours, otherwise then we gotta go through that whole other,
Right, yeah,
Okay.
it's,
you're part-time, you wanna stay, keep your hours down. And it's hard to say it there until we get all, cause, yeah.
Okay, so we throw in there whatever Becky was paid will be.
That all right?
That
Yeah.
sounds super.
She has to be compensated, and then
I
when you
move we
guys
adjourn.
need
well, I have something else.
when you need papers and stuff that you need to go out and get, just fill out a claim and get it into Sarah, and Sarah will hand it to us on claim day. Say you had to go get a book of papers or something, okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
just trying to
Heidi,
make
all
it
your,
work
all your
easy-
paper
easiest
and all
way.
that.
that's fine.
Okay.
And so in the bylaws, it says, refers to administrative assistant, can we just put secretary?
Yeah, because if you go with the other, then you gotta.
Right, secretary.
She's not the secretary though.
Well, so
That,
how
that
do
should
we,
be all the same. I mean, the person that takes the minutes should, and then again, keeps
is
the
our
records and
secretary?
everything.
well,
No, it was Elena.
Elena.
She didn't want to do it.
so I
Okay.
wonder, on the
Just put
bylaws,
Heidi as a secretary,
can
and then that way, just write it down as a secretary taking minutes.
so do we even need a secretary in our bylaws, you know, as an official elected position?
Well, you should have a president, vice president, secretary, because then it's illegal.
Right, but then our secretary isn't a member of the committee. Do we have like two secretaries? Well, okay, because we have now Elena and Heidi both.
Heidi,
No.
Elena don't want.
Elena has
Am I
resigned.
speaking out of
She
turn for you?
resigned.
No, because we didn't, now we set it up, and I think we should have, I don't know, to be
Well,
legal,
you
who we
can-
decide who is gonna be the chair and everything again,
Nothing against Elena.
for the record.
Right,
She's taking them, that, and Elena will still take video, I mean.
Right, as a public service.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And
So-
Becky wasn't a member.
That's a lot easier, otherwise if we're gonna get into a great big conflict, then it's gonna have to go through all that.
right, but what I'm saying is for the bylaws, they had the co-chairs, we went with chair, vice chair, do I even have to have secretary in there? Since we refer to her later as taking the minutes,
those would be the offices of the group.
right,
A secretary could be separate.
right, so.
As a
take off-
secretary.
I can take off secretary.
Yep.
Okay, good enough, just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, we got a lot done.
Yes, that's major.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move again.
Yeah,
I move we adjourn.
Yeah.
I second.
Busy, ain't it?
All in favor? Huh?
Aye.
I'm taking words out. Very good.
Good job, you guys.
We're done.
I like that one. I like to be